maybe for the last time, we are playing Vivi on this channel. As this video is coming out in early November with the banned and restricted list not too far away, it is likely that some cards from the Vivi Soul Cauldron deck will be banned, and Vivi is one of the main offenders. Obviously, Soul Cauldron itself is a really strong choice to be banned, but obviously this deck is outperforming what it should be in terms of the number of times it is played, mostly in best of 3 competition, not specifically in Arena. You don't necessarily see it in best of 1 on Magic Arena all that often, but we are going to play it here as a swan song and a goodbye to Vivi, who was just too powerful, right? In all the history of Magic, free spells have always been what the problem is, and being able to get as much mana as you can off of Vivi and play your entire hand if you have card draw and you're just starting to loop that card draw in, it's very, very difficult. So we're going to start off with Mako here. This is the ideal turn 1, since you will be discarding cards for the fear of missing out and also the Scholar. So we will just go ahead, play Fear. This is discard a card to draw a card, and we will discard Riddler here, draw a card, get the +1/+1 counter, and we start the attacks early on. Mardu Colors, Rest in Peace. We'll get rid of everything from the graveyard, so this has definitely turned us into an aggro deck now. We can Fear of Missing Out away this extra land just to get the +1/+1 counter, and go ahead, attack here, put pressure on. Let's see what our opponent is going to have. This is 8 damage coming in. Soul Cauldron is not going to do much in this matchup. Play the land. We could theoretically bounce the Rest in Peace, right? But if we do, we're not going to get anything out of it. Our opponent is on looking for board wipe here. They could technically be looking for the land in order to play the board wipe, but they will need to have it right now. If they do, there's nothing we can do about that. And if they don't, obviously when Rest in Pieces are played in the main deck, this is when the metagame is shifted a little too far, and we need to kind of do something about the main offender. I hope this game shows you kind of the backup plan is a fairly fast, aggressive deck anyway, even as your B plan. It just makes it really strong. So I don't think anybody that's played the format, and let me know in the comments below if you disagree, but I don't think anybody disagrees that something needs to be banned out of the deck. I guess the question is, how hard is the deck hit? This is not a deck that I have any love for, but I do remember the closest that I've ever gotten to leaving Magic is when I played Splinter Twin and that deck got banned. It wasn't just the financial value, it was also the time that I put into building the deck. And then when I finally got the deck all put together, it was the time I spent playing the deck, right? It was near and dear to me. And so it being out of the format, hurt me because it was part of Magic for me. and I get the arguments on why it should be banned. I'm not relitigating whether or not it should have or not. But it was certainly the closest that I ever had gotten to leaving Magic, because it felt like such a hit to me. And so, while I don't have particular love for this deck, I know that there's people out there that do. And for those people, I feel bad when I know that something will be banned from this deck, that this deck is not just going to stand the way it is right now. And unfortunately, for the health of the metagame, it's probably in everybody's best interest, but it does not come without some kind of consequences for some people. We'll ditch Vivi there. We'll have Torch the Tower and Into the Floodmaw open. And we'll pass. Yep, and this is why we want to keep something open there, to be able to torch the tower before anything happens there with Essence Chandler. We're not going to be able to hold up a Braid if we play Scholar. But we could... So, could we get Delirium? I guess that's the next question. We have an instant and a creature. So this is draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. But we could only discard a land unless we draw something else. Ooh, only 1 blue. Okay, then I think we wait a turn. And see what happens here. We have a Braid and Into the Floodmaw. A little bit more life there. Only constrained on mana, not life. Yeah, I don't really want to use a Braid on this either. I guess a Braid doesn't even put a new creature type in, a new card type into the bin. I just ship it here. We could play Scholar now, and we could get rid of a land, or we could just get rid of the draw card and look to harmonize from the graveyard. So if we do that, we could play, yeah, do that. We'll play a Verge, and now we have both up again. We can put it on the Scholar, attack with fear of missing out. Now we have 2 different types of removal here. Sheltered. Yeah. I mean, this is just a Braid. Blanks their turn. If they want to attack just to get in for 1 and lose a creature, like, they're more than welcome to. But we're going to start attacking with Vigilance and Flying, and they're just not going to have anything else to say about it. We could continue to draw cards with the Harmonize cost, and then just put more +1/+1 counters. I guess I was worried about something more along the lines of the Essence Chandler. If there was going to be some kind of backup plan after the first one did not stay on the board long, but there wasn't, and so we're moving on to game 3. Let's see what we have. Sure. You don't mulligan a lot of hands because with a lot of the discard and draw triggers, you can kind of get what you need. So no real fear of not being able to draw into what you're looking for. Okay, blue, black. Ah, okay. We'll go ahead, we'll ditch a land. And we'll draw a land. Okay. We'll put 3 cards into the graveyard. They'll get a land back. I guess they put 4 cards into the graveyard, but they'll get 1 of them back. And no real doubt here. We will Cauldron. We'll get the Caverno out for a +1/+1 counter. Keep attacking. This is slow graveyard removal, so our opponent could dump a bunch of things in the bin all at one time, and okay. Opponent is not going to be happy. Let's see what he's going to do here. Can get rid of the other one. Looking for a scholar or something that can help. So only one huge creature in the bin. Now we do have an Into the Floodmaw. Put that back in his hand and then attack. Get him in for 4. But we are kind of running low on resources. We definitely could see some card draw here. Scholar would be amazing. Let's see what we end up with. Nothing there. So he could discard a card in order to bring a creature back. He does not have a creature in there. If he had 4 mana for the Spectacular Spider-Man, he wouldn't have any targets in the graveyard. I'm thinking he might have been able to play a blocker or so there. I don't know if he was straight dead, but it certainly, I'm sure, didn't feel great. He knew we had 2 cards in hand, but he didn't know that they were both lands. I think he probably assumed one of them was going to be something impactful. It wasn't, but it was probably a correct assumption to think that it was. So we'll see what we have. Okay. We'll to draw a card and pass. Okay. Is this one of my favorite decks, being Raise the Past? So if it is, this is Vivi, and we need to survive 1 turn. If we do, we will have Into the Floodmaw, Torch the Tower, and Winter Night Stories all on the next turn. Yep, Servandum. Okay. Okay, this is a block here since mana is out, so we're only taking 2. Okay. So, this could be the memory, get the first counter, pass Into the Floodmaw back so that we don't lose anything, and then next turn Winter Night Stories and keep going, right? I think that's what it would probably be. I don't play Seam Rip in my Raise the Past deck, so I'm a little cautious of exactly what they are doing. Not going to attack. We'll pass. They probably don't have a lot of removal. You have to play a lot of creatures in this type of deck. Okay, they have the 4 mana for the Raise the Past, but nothing in the graveyard yet. Okay. We'll block. Sack a creature and draw a card. Okay. So we can put Servandum back in their hand. I think we start out with the stories. This is our token. We don't have a token to sacrifice. Okay. Um, okay. Draw 2 cards. Okay. Yeah, much different from my Raise the Pass deck. Yeah. Oh, maybe it wasn't even... I assume it has to be Raise the Past, right? It's not Sephiroth without Raise the Past. Yeah, I'll have to go back and take a look at that deck. And the 4-mana enchantment is obviously big game if you can play it and still be in the game and still be winning. But yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with that one. So we'll move on to the next match. Okay. Mako. See if this is going to eat a removal spell immediately. Looks like it is. Okay. Show off. We'll take it a little bit slow. We do need another land coming up here. See what the 3-mana play is. Another show off. We'll go ahead and destroy the first one, since the second one will probably just pop out all the instants with it. Okay, Vivi is in the graveyard. If this were to survive, it would be a big game, but I don't think it's going to survive. We're certainly not blocking here. No. Okay. We'd like to be doing something proactive. Let's draw a card first. Okay. I like the land. That was good. We'll pass. Not much we can do here. Screaming Nemesis. We can go ahead and put Screaming Nemesis back in their hand. So we'll only take 2 this turn. We will probably have to abrade at some point. We need some kind of creature, so we will discard. Fear of missing out looks good. So next turn, it seems like it's probably just Screaming Nemesis again. No. We'll let him do something with the mana. And then deal 3 damage. So, fear of missing out. Vivi. Get the token. Fear of missing out, but it's only 1. Discard. We'll get Vivi. Put a +1/+1 counter, and now we could play a second Fear of Missing Out. That's drawn 2 cards, so we can put the counters here, right? And then we can harmonize. Let's see. So, no, we just stay put. Screaming Nemesis is going to get us for 3 either way. Okay, Slick Shot. Is it 2? Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yep. This is why mono red is the one thing keeping the Vivi Cauldron deck in check is the mono red, the speed plan there. We needed 1 more turn, and mono red is the best deck for denying your opponent 1 more turn. So we were off to a nice start in the beginning there. We did lose to mono red, and we also lost to a Raise the Past or Sephiroth deck. Assume it was Raise the Past, but I will find out. Good early start here. Mako into Fear of Missing Out, and then Vivi coming in after that. Do we want to draw this? Yeah, we do. So we'll play Fear of Missing Out, drop 1 of the VVs, and get the land. Attack for 2. Yep, torch the tower. Makes a lot of sense. We'll play a Vivi. And next turn we can Winter Night Stories. Presumably grab a land for bounce. And get the counters going on this first Vivi. These stories are going to help us draw enough cards. Okay. Cauldron. Did Vivi. Put the +1/+1 counter here. And play Winter Night Stories. And discard a Vivi. Play a land, play a Mako. And attack. And now our opponents will go Cauldron. Do they have a Fear of Missing Out themselves? Okay. They're just going to eat 1 of the VVs. Okay. We could get a +1/+1 counter. Okay, draw more cards. We can decline and we can put in a tap land and a passage. More counters there. We can play a Riddler. Even better, more card draw. And then this one, 3 more cards. Riddler down. We'll play the Memory. And go to attacks. 11 +1/+1 counters. That's enough to win. And yeah, Vivi on Vivi. We got 3 of them under cauldrons early on, but 2 of them were for us, and they just didn't have any creatures. So luck of the draw went to us there. In the mirror match, as we're talking about Vivi saying goodbye because it was too strong in the format, there is a stat that is really outrageous. Vivi Cauldron wins 100% of the meta of the mirror matches. So of course, that's just being silly. But anyway, the deck is very strong. You always feel strong when you are playing it. I wish the deck had an out where we could take down the power level. I wish it was like, I think it's historic, where you could just make Vivi tap instead of the 0 ability or some other kind of tweak to it, because the deck feels great. It feels like a lot of fun when you play it. And that said, I do understand why it needs to go. Black, black. Okay. Trying to strip some resources. Makes sense. So that's a creature and an enchantment. Do we want it on top? We need to... No. So we can dump a land, but we have no instants or sorceries, right? So we can decline, drop 2 lands, attack. Attack again. Opponent can duress. Okay. would have liked. Okay. Betrayal it is. We'll get Scholar out next. And we'll have this up for next turn. Opponent is looking to, yep, destroy. I'm not going to kill it yet. I'm going to wait till end step so that if the opponent had another one, they couldn't play it immediately. So the Vivi without anything else to do is not amazing. We'll do Riddler to try and draw a land. Fear of missing out. Okay. This should work out in our favor. Okay, opponent drew another card there. We'll draw a bunch of cards here, get some counters, and discard a Mako. Not worried about the life, so we'll take the life here. We can play another Fear of Missing Out. We could just attack for 6 and is this a removal spell? Yes, it is. Okay. It was always going to have been a removal spell, so no problem there. We have card draw. Okay. We have Cauldron now, which, in addition to this card draw, will be quite a bit, although not quite enough to get rid of the blocker. We'll draw 3 here. Get rid of the 2 lands. We can we'll pass and unfortunately can't attack because he has to block, so we will not. And then we will get a bunch of blue. We'll play the Riddler. One blue left. We have Into the Flood Maw, but we would like to keep it, right? I mean, I guess we dumped the Vivi here in case we double Cauldron, but this is not going to go that long if we do. Okay. We'll go with Scholar. And now we exile anything. Oh, well, no, we exile the other Vivi. Yep. And then we're just going to look to draw a million cards, right? And we can just take the counters. We could play Mako and then play another memory. Yeah, I guess it's why not, right? Play Mako. Play another memory. We'll have Into the Floodmaw for whatever kind of blockers or a demon that he might put out. But at this point, I think it's academic. There you go. Too many creatures that are going to attack, and every time a creature comes out, we're going to get counters, and we're going to start doing the whole thing. Just too much there. Again, once more, just showing why Vivi, unfortunately, just a little too strong for the format. It is a real fun deck, and it's a deck where you feel like you have all the answers in game one. Mono red probably fast enough to be able to take care of it, but there was not the rest of the play in the format. Okay, here's the mono red matchup, and I love to be playing this. Don't know if it will go in our favor, but it's certainly something that I'd like to see. So what do we discard? I think we just discard the Vivi here. Mono red can easily remove and keep attacking. This attack and then... oh, menace, right. Menace. Okay. So we could go Scholar, or we could just go Memory, draw a card, and then have up Floodmaw. And then just be up a card. We're not going to be able to deal with the Bastronaut unless we use Floodmaw, but I mean it's something we can consider. He's going to have to hold back Higher Claw if this works. Let's see what it is got. This could be Screaming Nemesis. And while you would want to use the Floodmaw there, yeah. Let's see who he attacks with. Because Scholar can get his own counters, to be perfectly honest. Okay. This will be 2 more counters. So he goes Screaming Nemesis, we put it back in his hand, and then we double block. And we just build up counters on the Vigilance. And then we attack with Vigilance while we're holding off the ground. Okay? Yep. Okay. We block. We deal 3 damage. And then he can redirect the 3 damage somewhere. Okay. Then he deals the 3 damage to us. Why don't we just put this back in his hand? Right? Then we're in the same exact position, but he'll have 1 extra mana next turn. Yeah, I mean, if he saw the 3rd, I would understand the concession, but that concession seems maybe just half a turn too early. The 1-drop that can get double strike is something where you don't care about it at all on the first 3 turns, but then when it does get to max speed and it does have double strike, all of a sudden that is a new deal that you were not thinking of when it first came out as a 1/1. So if this is mono red, not that I know it is, but if it is, this will be a much more fair matchup. We just have removal spells, which are harder to play against Screaming Nemesis than some of the other cards. We will have to draw into what we need. Assume that he would be keeping a hand that already had what he needed, probably Nemesis on 3. Just take the 1 card, not a lot of help there. Okay. So he killed a creature, not the creature, but we'll go ahead and play out Cauldron and have Unsummon ready just in case. None of this really gets activated until we get a creature. To the non-basic that player controls. Yep. Put it back in his hand. We'll just slow him down. We definitely don't want to have to double a braid to kill Sunspire Link, but you know, it is okay. Look to kill the haste creature immediately before he can make it Valiant. Attack for 3. None of this is great for me, but it's not awful until I don't draw any creatures. At that point, it will be awful, but Not quite there yet. Sunspire Links, yeah. Looks like we're gonna have to 3 damage this. They have a big threat on board. Put it back in their hand. We are going to need a creature soon. Scholar would be the best draw here. Cauldron might be the worst. So, nothing at all. Links will come back down. Yeah, I think I'm going to need Scholar now, right? I don't think I can have too much more time. No. Interesting game. Mono Red was definitely slower than usual, and that's the kind of game that you'd love to be able to pick up. Was not able to get there. It's funny, the one before had a lot of aggression, and I was able to win that one, and this one, on a little bit of a slower draw, I wasn't able to get there. We'll go ahead and keep this. This is a typical and a really nice opener. It could be beaten, especially by Mono Red. Okay, the black. This could be just the black aggro deck, or it could be the. It could be also played in like that Sephiroth kind of deck. Yep, that's that Sephiroth deck. So. Soul Cauldron here. Pick up the Vivi. Do we want to attack? Well, either way we're going to tap, right? So no attacks there. Surviving. If they have a sack outlet, we could be in trouble. But right now they don't have any, and I believe, unless they have the sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. They could do that. Yeah, okay. Instead they had Eaten Alive. Okay. That does a lot to our board, but we can keep going. Next turn we'll have a Memory and a Scholar. Now they'll have the Sacrifice on Demand, but this is Scholar. Draw 2, discard 2, or sometimes discard 1. We'll go ahead, discard here. This will have vigilance, so no harm in attacking. Opponent's going to have a hard time getting through. Sephiroth can get rid of Nesting Bot, draw a card. Nesting Bot will make a token. All of this is good. They could go ahead and sack their board if they wanted to for triggers, but I think this is just going to be a win here, right? We're just going to draw a million cards and then be able to but we don't have to do it in one turn, that's for sure. We could also into the Flood Maw, now double into the Flood Maw, so we clearly don't have to do it in one turn. We can play 1. We can draw 3 more cards here. We can discard 2 cards because it's not going to matter in the longer term. And then have Flood Maw up. And this is lethal in the air. And vigilance, right? So no reason not to attack. Scholar really comes through there. And that's where I'm going to call it on this video, and unfortunately that's where we're going to call it on Vivi. Again, it is bittersweet. I don't know, we should not be celebrating bans because of the human element of what it means to those people who have built this deck. I'm an Arena player. Wild cards are the currency that I use, but if you were to build this deck in paper, this is a lot of value for very established players. If you have 3 or 4 decks that you're bringing to Friday Night Magics and you're rotating through them so that you kind of get reps on all of them because you're just so enfranchised, that is awesome. And you know, good for you. We're all kind of envious that you have that wealth of Magic resources at your disposal, but most paper players, you know, they build one deck for the format. A lot of times we're building one budget deck, and then maybe throughout the course of the format we're building into a fully powered standard deck, and then we kind of start all over again when rotation happens. So for those players that are losing cards out of this Vivi deck, I want to make sure that I am very sympathetic. If there's advice to be given, maybe check out Arena. I understand a lot of players that are in paper, that's your go-to, and I certainly am not looking to cause you any harm, but if you're looking for a place to play that is much cheaper, we are free-to-play players. We don't necessarily pay into the system. We do our daily goals and our weekly goals, and we get enough gold, and we get enough gold usually to play in draft events, and then from the draft events we win gems and packs for playing. And so this is how we kind of sustain ourselves here with the wild cards that we have to be able to play standard. Certainly without grinding, it is definitely more expensive than nothing, but it's definitely cheaper than paper. So if you're looking for a softer landing, if you lose something from a deck, I expect not only cards from this deck, but also cards from Mono Red, Who knows if mono red will still be viable? It usually is, and there are cards that we can kind of move around to make sure that mono red stays viable. But if something like Screaming Nemesis or one of those cards go, it may be a big hit to the power level. So we will find out shortly, but until then, Vivi, was a lot of fun playing with you, and we will see you in the eternal formats, I am sure. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you expecting specific cards to be banned? Obviously, everybody's expecting something to happen. Are there specific cards that you're expecting? If you enjoy this type of content, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to take your support further, in the pinned comment below, there is an Amazon web store. If you use that link and you purchase Magic or anything else from that store, it's absolutely free to you. It costs you nothing, but it does bring a few percentages our way for supporting a small channel. Till next time, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.